actually go out of order from what we had planned because some people have some other meetings to go to. This is probably one of the busiest days we have on campus. So we're going to start with Dr. Denley, who won the draw. We're going to talk about bundles and block registration and degree compass, et cetera, et cetera. So,
I will do it. Thank you. It's good to see everybody. It's a busy time of the year, I know, and I really appreciate you coming to this meeting. There's some important things that are going to be happening over the summer that are, I guess, different from things that we've been doing in the past. And part of that is to know what those things are, and part of it to just kind of know a little bit of the background about it. Over the last, I suppose, 15, 20 years, all across the nation, there's been lots of work trying to work with student success, trying to understand how to get freshmen off to a good start and what kind of impact that can make on their college careers. And there's really three kind of basic pillars to that have been discovered. There are other things that now we have started to do on our campus. And two of those things that are part of those basic pillars we have been doing for quite a little while. So those things are to have a student success course, and we have that, APSU 1000. And then the other is to have an academic alert system to recognize when students kind of fall off the planet, and then we can sort of try to help them not fall off the planet. And so both of those things have been available on our campus for quite a while. The third pillar that's been found across the nation about student success is about helping students to kind of learn in groups. And the way in which on most campuses that's been played out is as some kind of living learning community. And often those living learning communities have some sort of discipline basis. And often those living learning communities, the kind of the living is as much as the learning. And those students are housed together and they live together. And I'm sure you have colleagues at other places that do those kinds of things at other schools. And we have some of that happening here too. But the trick is that here at Austin Peay anyway, some kind of idea like that is simply never going to scale. The students that we have here at Austin Peay, many of them don't live here on campus. Clearly we have many more of them that will live on campus this coming year. We'll have 400 more freshmen who will live here on campus. But it's always going to be the case that more than half of our freshmen are going to live off campus. And we have 40% of students are adults. We're probably not going to be able to convince adults that actually you need to come live here on campus, on this corridor. It's never going to happen. And so what we've had to do is to think of other ways in which we might be able to kind of create communities within communities to try to create that same kind of success, because we know that it's true that students, when they learn in a smaller community, the people that they get to know well over a period of time, that it affects their probability of success as students. And so that's where this idea of course bundling has come from. It doesn't sort of just grown out of the thin air. It's an attempt to try to capture this idea of helping students to create a community within the larger community. Does that make sense? So we tried that last year, and the president this year set out a target for us to do this with half of the incoming freshmen. So last year, I think we ended up with about 150 students who were part of those bundled classes. And last year it was a very limited set. And everything was APSU 1000, English 1010, and History 2010. Those were the bundles. And what we know is from the data that it did do the things that we wanted it to do. It made a significant impact to the likelihood that students came back, that they came back to us in the spring. And of course, we don't have grades from the spring yet. We certainly haven't seen whether or not people come back in the fall, but we suspect that we see that same, all the signposts pointing in the same direction, and we see that impact. So that's really exciting. What we now have a challenge to do is to try to take that same idea and scale it much broader across the incoming freshman class. And so there's been a lot of work done, a number of you have been involved in that, to put together these course bundles that are much more varied than they were last year. So discipline-specific bundles now, very many of them contain some kind of discipline-specific course that incoming freshmen in your discipline are involved in. I know that's true in music, and that's true in art, and other disciplines where that's true too. And we've had to pay more attention to making sure that bundles are available to kind of to satisfy a number of different kinds of constituencies. And the challenge is out there, right? So the president has asked that half of the incoming freshman class will be involved in these bundles. So it's a big lift, right? It's a non-trivial task, but it's really important work because we now at least have the data to show that if you would like your students to succeed, they have a better probability of succeeding if they're in one of the bundles. Now, I know it to be the case that not every student can be in a bundle, right? Because there are other issues going on. Maybe some of them, maybe they have AP credit for one of the classes that's in your bundle. And there's all kinds of things that might happen. But for many of the students, being in a bundle is completely a reasonable option. And so one of the things that I'm asking for you today is to change the way in which you think about creating that schedule for your freshmen this summer. And it'll be a little bit of a change. Because I know, my guess is that you advise the way that I often advise when I advise for a dozen years too, or probably more. And I tended to do it like this. When I was advising math majors, and when they came to me, I'd say, okay, you need to be in calculus, and you need to be in this, and those are the important classes, right? And then I'll get all the other classes, and I'll kind of mesh them around after, right? Well, that doesn't quite work in this bundle world, because the bundle's a big piece. So if you put all the other pieces in first and then try to sort of jam a bundle in, you're not going to be able to do it. So instead, what I'm asking for you to do is to put the bundle in first and see whether that can happen. If you put the bundle in first and then find the other classes around, for almost all of the freshman classes, we have a wide array of availability for that, especially right at the beginning of the summer. Lots of classes at lots of times during the day. And so you'll be able to find ways that you can build that schedule out with one class for that bundle. And for many of you in discipline-specific areas, well, one of the classes in the bundle is going to be one of the classes you want them to take anyway. Does that make sense? So if we do that and we fill up the bundles first, then of course by the time we get towards the end of the summer, when classes are kind of thinner on the ground, and it happens, right? Classes fill up, and there's less of a selection, well, the bundles will have filled up. So then you won't have to do that. Then you can use the flexibility to its largest advantage. Does that make sense? So this is the plan, and if we all work together, I think that plan will work out well, and we'll be able to meet the President's goal of getting half of the students into the bundles. Any questions about that? Mary's here today to kind of show us how functionally on the machine you sign up for a bundle. Some of you may not have seen that. Yes, ma'am.
Will all of the advisors be told about the bundles and that they should go first?
So that's what I met with another group of advisors, like last week, and so that's what we're doing, telling everybody that's what the purpose of it is. Yes, ma'am?
Can we have a list of the bundles before we start for that scholarship advising on the 18th?
Absolutely. I think all of it, and we'll talk about the kind of the particulars of it. What I wanted to do was at least for you to know kind of the why and the how and the importance of this. It's not, the things that we're trying to do here at Austin Peay are not muddling around the edges. What we've seen is there's about a 10% difference in the likelihood of students coming back when they were in a bundle or not a bundle. And 10%, that's a big margin. Not the sort of thing we can just go, well, don't we try that. It's a big piece. The other thing I want to talk about is Degree Compass. Some crazy English guy over in Browning came up with this thing, and now he's here telling you. What I want to tell you is something's different about Degree Compass this year from last. Last year, I did not meet with you and say, use Degree Compass to provide information to your incoming freshmen. And there was a reason. It was because I didn't know it worked. I didn't know it worked. There wasn't any reason to imagine that when all that we had was incoming ACT scores and high school GPA, we had enough information to be meaningful to provide predicted kinds of grades for incoming freshmen. And so last year, what we did was we collected the data and analyzed it carefully to see. And now I can tell you that the answer is, yes, it does work. We now have more than three-quarters of a million data points from here and community colleges and universities all across Tennessee to see that, yes, the predicted kinds of information that you're getting for Degree Compass for your incoming freshmen, it's absolutely meaningful. In fact, so this is the sort of sensitivity that we have. When you look at the predicted grades as advisors, if that predicted grade is 3 stars or more, then that student has a better than 90% chance of passing that class. 92% actually. And if they have fewer than 3 stars, then they have a better than 90% chance of failing the class, getting a D or an F. So 3 stars is kind of the cutoff. More than 3, they have a really, really good chance of getting an A, B, or a C. And there are some other cutoffs that can say whether they get an A or a B, and we can talk about those if you like. But 3 stars, more than 3 stars, they're going to be fine. Fewer than 3 stars, this is going to be a real challenge. More than likely they'll get a D or an F. And that's now very useful information, I hope, that when you're advising students who are going into courses that you know traditionally are challenging to incoming freshmen. I'm not saying to you they can't go in that class. What I'm saying to you is now you have that information and you can talk to those students. You know, you have a student who's in anatomy and physiology. I'm not saying don't go in anatomy and physiology, but what I can say is you can say, look, it looks like anatomy and physiology has been a really challenging course for you. Let's talk about ways in which we might be able to help you with that. Start that conversation. The other thing is, in Degree Compass, you'll see these little keys, little key signs next to classes. This is work that I've done working with all the department chairs. I know there's some department chairs who are here today. That we've put together these, what we call keystone classes, that for each semester in the 8-semester plan, we picked out the courses which are kind of the first classes to do when you first arrive, and once you've done those, what are the next ones? And after you've done those, well, what are the next ones? Enough to get us through the first 2 years of work. And this is particular, not to each major, but to each concentration. And in the structure that Degree Compass now provides, you'll see these little keys, and the students will too. So you know what these keys are. I mean, will be no surprise to you. They're exactly the courses that you've been advising for years. But when the students now look at that work, they will see that, and they'll see the courses, not the courses that they have choices over, the courses that are sort of non-negotiables. And the reason for that is, once again, if there's a key class, if there's a sort of a first set key class that has very few stars for them, again, this is a really good opportunity to say, well, okay, look, this is a class that, this is required for your major, and it looks like it's going to be really challenging. Not everyone, when they first walk in the door, is in a major where they really are set up to succeed. And so, having that conversation, it's in their interests and ours. So, we are absolutely letting students know this. Encouraging them to look at Degree Compass before they even arrive on campus. They've already had all of that. Many of them actually are coming here because they're attracted to having that information, excited about coming here to Austin Peay, because they know that they can get that level of information. It's very important for you to know this is all about making choice and informing it. Nothing prescriptive here. Nobody's making you advise those courses. Nobody's making students adopt those courses, but it's simply information, and it seems now it's very useful information to be able to use. I know that there are some departments now that are targeting supplementary instruction classes using those predicted grades. It's a good thing to do. Any questions about any of that? Yes, ma'am.
The 3 goes on the good side. 3 stars.
That's right.
Or better.
3 stars or better, good. Fewer than 3 stars, bad. That's right. Yep. Yes, ma'am.
If I want to see the predicted grade for a course that's not in the student's currently declared major, like maybe we're kind of counseling and thinking about something else the student might want to major in, is there some way I can do that?
Yeah, there's a little search box that you can type in the name of a class, and it'll pull it up.
There's a search box.
Yeah, you can. On the interface, there's a search, and you can filter by.
In the instructor interface
Yep.
from. Okay, all right.
Yes, sir.
Before again.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Some of the information is visible to the advisor, but not the student. Is that the case?
Predicted grade. So what the students see is this amalgam of, is the class a really central curricular class for them to take? Do they need it for their major? And their predicted grade all kind of meshed into one. And what you see is that, and also the predicted grade separately. But only the advisor sees that predicted grade. We talk to students and they prefer not to see this. I think it seems sort of like it's this sort of cyclops effect. You better not to see that. Any other questions about any of this? really appreciate the hard work over the summer. It's going to be really exciting. We have the biggest set of admitted freshmen that we've had in recent history. So it's going to be a busy summer. And we've had a huge push this year to really attract many of those students to actually come here to summer welcome. It's all very well for them to apply and be admitted, but we need them to come and actually be a student here at Austin Peay. So it's going to be a busy summer. And I depend on you to, keep this flow of information back and forth to my office. If we need to open extra sections for people so that we can help them to create schedules, we need to know that. And I'll continue to provide the information that I've done to. But I know there's lots to talk about today, so I won't use up any more of your time, and you know where I am if there's any more questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Barnes, you can go ahead and talk about honors, and they have your green sheet.
Thank you, Ashley. Is it still green?
It's still
That's
green.
important to me. I just want to hit the high points, really, of the information that's on your sheet, and just let you know some of the things that we're doing in the honors program that will help you advise these students. We will have as many as 170 incoming honors freshmen in the fall. And you also should have a list of all those students with their A numbers. And the reason that we did that is in the last advising session, somebody in a department said that they do so much advising beforehand or work things out beforehand that they wanted to know who the honor students were when they came. But you won't necessarily need that because the honor students will have with them in their packets essentially a card like you have, which will designate them as an honor student. So you won't need to make that decision. If they have that card, that means they've already been admitted to the honors program. Now, having said that, if you encounter a student who is qualified for the honors program, that is interested in the honors program, and you'd like to have them take an honors class or at least talk to me about it, you can certainly make that designation on your own. The requirements are 26 or above on the ACT and a commendable high school record. So I think you can imagine that a bigger problem for us in the honors program than having students try to get into the honors program when they don't need to be is encouraging students who need to be in the program to be in there. So again, if you see somebody who is not, you'll encounter students who say, I didn't know we had an honors program, then you are more than welcome to make a decision either to put them in an honors class or to have them email me. I should be at all the summer welcomes. I'll be around. So please feel free to do that. As you can imagine too, most honors students come in with hours, either from ACT or AP credit or dual enrollment. So what that means is that there are 2 specific courses which are required for all honors students. They have to have 30 hours in all, but only 2 specific courses. They are Honors 1010 and Honors 2010. Because we require honors students to take those courses, we sub those courses for one of 4 courses. And that's because the first course has a lot of writing in it and usually subs for English 1010 or English 1020, but you will get students who've already had those classes or have credit for those classes, and so they should take Honors 1010, but we'll substitute it for Comm 1010 or 3 hours of humanities. And again, this is on your sheet. Also, in the second semester, honors students take Honors 2010, which usually functions as World Lit for honors students. So because of that, if you're scheduling an honors student for Honors 1010 in the fall, it will be best if you don't also put that student in English 2030 and let them take Honors 2010 to sub for English 2030. If it happens, it's not the biggest problem in the world. We'll just sub it for something else. But that's really the way that works the best. We do have a bundle of classes in the honors program. It's Philosophy 1030, Honors 1010, and an honors section of APSU 1000. And the topic is morality, justice, and ethics. I'm teaching it with Jordy Rochelle, and I'm trying to get him to change the title to Justice, Morality, Ethics, : yes or no. Right? He won't do it. So if you have a student who's particularly interested in philosophy or those sorts of topics, it will be advantageous for them to take that bundle. Also, we have 2 Honors 1010 sections that are taught by art faculty, Anthony Morris and Kel Black. So if you see us, I know is the art advisor here this time? that person knows about this, but if you have a student who thinks they may want to be an art major, an art minor, that sort of thing, it'd be good for them to have art faculty for honors teaching. There are some other honors classes on your sheet that the students are welcome to take. Probably they won't take more than 6 hours in the fall when they're just coming in. Also on your sheet, you have kind of some FAQs on the back that you may get asked. Do you have any questions for me?
What was the honors bundle again?
It is Philosophy 1030, Honors 1010, and an honors section of APSU 1000. It should be marked on your sheet in that gray shaded area, those 3 classes.
Oh, okay.
And I guess the main thing to remember is that what these students will need is Honors 1010 and an honors section of APSU 1000. It does happen that students will need to take a discipline-specific APSU 1000, and that's okay. What I usually say is students need to take an APSU 1000 honors section unless they have some compelling reason to do otherwise. So what that means is if it's a discipline-specific section, that's absolutely fine. But they'll get a little bit more from the honors sections rather than just a general section. Any other questions? Okay, thanks. Let me know if something comes up this summer. As I say, I'll be around. Thanks. Thank you, Ashley.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mary Clement. I think I know most of you. If you don't know me, I am my new title is the Coordinator of Student Systems and Reporting. But really what that means is anytime Dr. Bentley and the President come up with a new process, I get to test it. And I get to listen to you guys tell me how it's not working. So I'm going to show it to you kind of today, but currently it's primarily not working. There are a few pieces so you can see how it goes, but we had a big upgrade in IT this weekend, so many of you know that Banner was down and we're still kind of fixing the issues that cropped up with that. So I'm instructed to show you the bundles and also just to kind of go over the advising a little for the peer advisors. So some of this might be what you know and do every day. Please bear with me, I won't take very much of your time. So I hijacked Dr. Meyer's account because that's just what I do after all the things he put me through as a student. Just really quickly, I'm in self-service, but you would typically log in through your one-stop, and I'll do that just so you can see. Oh, very good. We get lots of times where people are unable to access something on the website, and it's because they're pressing the wrong option here. It makes sense that you would want to only view the items that are delivered securely, and that's what this pop-up is asking you. If you only want to view items that are delivered securely, we want you to say no. So no, you don't only want to view secure items. If you press yes, you won't be able to get into your work list and things of that nature. So no is the way we go here. And then you would click your web self-service tab. And eventually it'll pop up. And this lower window is what we're interested in here now. Because I'm in a test environment, I didn't really take Dr. Meyer's account. I'm going to just work out of this window. But does everybody see that this is how you get to your self-service? Okay, great. So I'm going to click Faculty and Advisors. And just briefly, I know you're not all instructors here, but this main list is primarily faculty tasks, things of your own personal classes, your class list, the place that you enter grades. For this demonstration, we are interested in the student information menu. So I'm going to click that. And this is the place if you wanted to look up specific information about a student, you could do it here. And we're encouraging you all to use the one-stop advising page because we've developed it for you, and we think it's really great. Plus, you can get most of the information that you want. And I don't want to violate any purpose, so I'll just share my own personal information with you. And you can see if a student is really the student and not their best friend sitting in your course. You get to see who their advisor is. You can see, that's your personal number, email address, address, class standing, GPA, whether a student has any registration holds here, what their admission status is, so if they haven't been admitted, which I haven't, but we have a new program here, so I will be soon. And then if I were an active student, there would be a big block here, and it has terms, and when you're advising a student, you would put a check mark in that term. That's how the student can register. So if you're advising a student and you forget to check that box for the term that you're advising the student for, the student won't be able to go out and register for classes. Do I need to log in with a current active student, or do you all understand that you have, okay, you understand? If someone doesn't understand and you need a little bit of additional follow-up with me, please feel free to email me. It's clementm@apsu.edu. I'm sorry, I forgot to bring some cards. So you get to see student deficiencies, their test scores, their subs and waivers, and then if you need more additional information, you can view their academic transcript, a degree evaluation, any transfer work they've completed, which I haven't completed any, but you just click on the link and it'll automatically take you to a screen that shows you transfer work. This is really your central advising places where you can find the most information about the individual student that you're interested in advising. Then if you go back out to that menu, I believe the degree compass, Dr. Denley's tool, this is the advisor side. In a second I'll log in as the student and you can see what the student gets to see. So a degree evaluation, I will pull one up. I have an old one to run. The degree evaluation is the tool that tells you the classes that the student needs to reach their degree. So you click that and it'll tell you which curriculum, and I was computer science. So we would typically generate a new evaluation for a freshman, but if one has already been done, you can click previous evaluations. I don't have any. Does anybody want to see this? Because it will take a few minutes to run. Does anybody need to see this? Okay, great. If it's generating a new evaluation, it will take a minute. It essentially tells you these classes are required, and it'll have a yes or a no whether the student needs to complete that requirement. A yes means yes they need to, or no, a yes means they have completed it, a no means they have not. So you want to use that tool, but this is Dr. Denley's tool, the degree compass. So you click the recommendations and it will tell you some stars. And while that's doing that, I'll go ahead and log in as a student on this one. Okay, so if you click update recommendations, it should give you recommendations for the student. And as Dr. Denley was telling you, it'll give you a projected grade in the course. So apparently I should take systems analysis and design. I'm pretty sure I already took it, but I don't know how that works. This is Dr. Denley's tool. I really don't know anything about it. You guys probably know more about it than I do, but
Can you show me the search box?
yeah, you know, Dr. Rayburn, that's what I was looking for.
Oh, right up there. Is it way up on the top there?
Oh, yes.
Is that
Okay, let's try that. Let's see, ACT 2020, is that a course? How about 2010? Anybody know?
You have 2 seats.
Oh, maybe just ACCT? I don't know about payment. Pre-prod is broken.
English 1010.
Well, try what?
English 1010.
I suspect that the problem we're having now is related to the hiccups over in IT, but we could try this in.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, it's not returning what I would expect it to return.
Okay.
I'm thinking that if you try this in production, I'm hopeful that if you try it in production, it'll return much different results. Dr. Rayburn, if you had a chance, would you actually test that and send me an email and let me know if that's not working? Thanks. All right, so let's log in here. I'm logged in as a student now, and I'm logged in as a new freshman, conditional admit. So if you were instructing the student to register, they would click the registration link and the add or drop classes if you know the classes, or if you're ready to register for a block. So you select that link and then the term. And this page is the same for any student. Senior or junior, they see the same page. This student is a conditional admit, so they have some test score issues here, and that's what it's showing us. But we want to look at the blocks. And the way that the blocks are set up and working, if you're a conditional admit student, you only see the 2 conditional blocks. You don't get the option to even see the other blocks. You're ineligible to register them. They primarily all have a history or an English or something different. These are the 2 blocks that are open to conditional students. So they like the schedule. You can see really quickly where the schedule is. They click register for the block. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. You've successfully registered. And then if they go, oh no, that's not the one I meant to register for, they try to go back to add or drop classes and drop. This should not work. I hope it doesn't work. Okay, so I'm still registered, and it says block registration you can't drop. So what do you do if you don't want that block? You go back into the block registration screen, and then you see that you have the option to drop the entire block. That's how you drop the blocks. I know many of you are chairs. I know you have access to the CRNs. We do not want the students to have the access or the CRN numbers for the courses in the blocks. We don't want students to register for blocks and tell their friend, I know you don't want this block, but I'd really like it if you were in my enhanced class. Here's the CRN. We'll know if students don't register through the blocks. We have a back-end way of knowing that, but we really want to try to preserve the integrity of the process. So please don't give out those CRNs. I know there are a couple of areas that have reserved seats specifically for that purpose, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just please don't publish them. Okay, so I'm going to drop that block. And I'm going to log in as a different student. But also, I will get Ashley a list of the blocks with the courses and the schedule so that she can send it to you all so you have a quick reference, because no one student will see every block available, because the business blocks are only available, they only appear to business majors. And the honors blocks only appear to students with the honors attribute, and the conditional blocks only appear to students with the COND. Yes?
If you have a conditional student who registers for one or the other of the blocks, they must do one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And both blocks conflict with courses as a major that they must take in the first semester. How does that?
Yeah, I assume that falls into that category of students where Dr. Denley said not everybody will be able to register for a block. If a student is required to take a certain class in his major and it conflicts with one of the times and the only blocks that they're available to take, that's, to me, a reason to not be in a block. There's no way around it. I know there were some issues with nursing in that same situation last year. Okay. Business blocks only show to business majors. Nursing only to nursing. There is one block that's a weird combination. Sorry if it's your block. It's a nursing / biology or something. Maybe that's not so weird now that I think about it. But anyway, there's a block that's a combo that will appear to both majors. But the way that the program works behind the scenes is that it's checking something on the student to determine if it matches something on the block. So an athlete is checking a screen and banner to see if that student's an athlete. So if you have an athlete who wants to be in an athlete block and the block is not appearing for them, they are missing something. And that's the point that you need to contact one of our staff and say, you know, this guy says he's a football player, but the athlete block is not appearing. The same thing, if you know from your list that there is a help block available to the President's Emerging Leaders programs, and you know that student's supposed to be PELP, it's not appearing, please contact our office because there's a mismatch behind the scenes. I did test this extensively, not anticipating this installed over the weekend, so apparently I can't get back into self-service because a break-in attempt has been detected. It will work. It will work. When we're ready to do it, I've tested it, IT has tested it, it's going to work. It's going to work much better than last year. You're going to click the block, the student's going to be in the block, you're going to click the block, you're going to drop the block, it's all going to be good, okay? And if it's not good, give me a call at 7139. You might want to write that down. Hopefully you don't need it, but it's 7139. Are there any more questions? Yes, sir.
For the students who don't sign up for blocks, is when they go to list classes, is there something that says this class is a block, you can't choose this one?
No, what's happening is the classes that are blocks are not appearing. So that when you, on the regular class list, so when you go to look for a class, the block CRNs are hidden. So we've done what we can do. There are a couple of ways you can see the CRNs. I'm not going to tell you what they are, but you might discover them. Please, I mean, they're not really that hidden, but if you do see them, please don't share them, okay? Let's all be a team. Let's get these 400 kids in blocks. 760. Let's get these 760 kids in these blocks. You guys have a great weekend. I'm going to Florida.
Thanks, Mary. I hope you don't have any other questions because I don't know what she knows and I don't know she's leaving. Okay, couple questions about the bundles. There was a question about whether you would know. I will send out, and it will look exactly like how she showed it with the red line with Tuesday with the check marks. So I'll send that out with the exception of you won't be able to see the CRNs because I was told I couldn't give them to you. So, and I'll email that out to all of you when we finish testing because right now it's not working. And there will be posters in your rooms that have the block on them. So every room that has advising, which are the same 8 rooms that we use every year, they will have posters on the wall with all 39 blocks. 38 of the blocks have an APS 7000 included in it. There's only one block that does not include an APS 7000 class. So if you happen to choose the block that doesn't include APS 7000, then you have to go out and find a block or find an APS 7000 class to add. But all of the other blocks already have it included in there, so you won't have to worry about that. The question about conflicts with the bundle, we tried really, really hard to, if there were classes that did necessarily conflict that you wanted for a discipline specific, that major, we tried not to pick a time that would conflict. But we had a few changes, so that doesn't always happen. But so hopefully the classes that the department suggested that freshmen take for like a music major, it will not conflict. So your blocks specifically should not conflict with any other class that you told me a freshman would
Just a
typically take.
clarification, it was conditional.
Yeah.
Yes. Because they have their own block.
Right, they have their own, yeah, and so that wouldn't be it. So if it's a conditional music, then they wouldn't necessarily be in the block. Yeah, so they have their own situation. But there are blocks that are general, so not all of them are discipline specific. We have about 10 that are discipline specific, but there is just a block that's a general APS 7000 that may have an English or a comm or a psychology or whatever the case that case may be. So they should typically, without a conditional, they should have a range of choices outside of their discipline specific. So if that one happens not to work because they came in with the dual enrolled class and so English is in there and they already have English credit, then they shouldn't see that one. So if if that happens, that's probably why. So that's why she was saying. So there are a few instances where that doesn't work, but we really tried hard, like with nursing, education, business, where it doesn't conflict with any of their other classes. So the posters will be up in your room, so if you want to talk about that. We also have schedules that will be emailed out to you because we didn't know how many people were going to show up today. So if you didn't sign in, make sure you sign in. The undercredit advising office is going to talk about admission codes because the question that came up last time is that if the student is conditional, they get a lime green sheet that looks exactly like the one that you have today, except different information on it, in their bags. What happened, we noticed last year that students were with their parents for the first hour and a half of the day, and by the time they got to advising after lunch, they had given their bag to their mom and dad. And they were in 2 totally different parts of campus. So we're going to instruct them to keep their bag because they get a list of information, just like if your student is an honor student, they will have a card that lets them know that they're an honor student because they've already been coded to get in those blocks. Each room has a registrar in the room with them, so if there's a discrepancy, especially if they have that card, they've already been notified. There is a PELP block. All PELP students, regardless if they are whatever major, has to be in the PELP block. Dr. Kinney says he's already communicated with everyone and already knows that, so they do not have the luxury of taking a discipline-specific class. There's 24 students that applies to, and so those PELP students will have some type of notification of who they are, so you would know. So they are required to take the PELP section and the PELP block. So those students will have that notification in their bag as well. Any other questions regarding anything I've just covered or anything else with block registration that I can answer? Okay, great. So I do want to show you guys a couple of things that we didn't have last year that we will have in the rooms for the students. One is a schedule builder. We like for the students to leave with a copy of their schedule from the room, but there are 2 rooms that actually don't have a printer available. And sometimes as you're building their schedule, students are visual learners. So we have these schedule builders, which are the time of the day. And so if they're going through and writing down the times of the CRNs of the block, these will be just a big stack of them, probably of 100, so will be in each room. So they can go ahead and write down what times their schedule is. So if they have, a lot of our students have other commitments, or if they have jobs and they know they can't have any class before 8 o'clock, they can go ahead and jot this down. So we would just have a stack of these in the room, especially if you are not able to print their schedule. They can jot down the times and their CRN numbers to their classes, so then they would be able to take this with them when they leave. So they have some reference of when they go home what their schedule looks like. So we wanted to provide this because a lot of students did not know that they had scheduled themselves to have classes from 8 a.m. until 2 p.m. on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, because they didn't want any Tuesday, Thursday classes. They didn't really recognize that. So those will be available in the rooms. Some of the schedules, we have a slight change this year. The first one that's coming up, Summer Welcome, is a scholarship welcome. We've invited 265 scholarship and or athletes to that date. So it should be a packed date. So they check in at 7:30, they have a welcome with Dr. Denley, they go to Housing and Commuter, then they have a time where they meet with their orientation leaders, the ROAs, where they go over the information that's in their packet. So we want them to know, don't give your backpack away with your packet and your information to your parents. You need that information to take you to advising. We also tell them if they've changed their password before they get there. We found a lot of students log on to One Stop. They're so excited when they get their acceptance and it prompts them to change their password, but then they get in the advising room and they don't know what their password is. So if we know that ahead of time, we can try to get them to reset the password as soon as they get into the room, so when registration comes up, we can try to go ahead and move quickly for that advising portion. So those are the things that we're covering. And then they go to a session on finances, which is the Financial Aid and Veteran Office. They have a session with the Bursar's office on confirmation of classes, because this whole day will be null and void if they don't confirm their classes. And then we have a session on GOES 411. And that session covers a little bit of everything that we need a student to know at the beginning when they first start out as a student. Then they go to lunch, and then they go to register with you. The advising times have not changed. It's the same time as last year. So on a normal freshman day, you start advising at 1 o'clock. We always ask that you arrive 15 minutes early, just in case they get out, or we have a really small group and they walk really fast. So you'll be prepared. There will be an orientation assistant in the room, hopefully when you get there already, that have already started turning computers on, et cetera, et cetera. And then they come back to the UC when they're done with advising, and then they can go on a tour and have a wonderful day. Any questions about the schedule? Because I know people wanted to know what did they know before they get to you. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, it's not a question about the schedule.
Okay.
It was what you were talking before about the PELP block.
Yes.
Is it possible that we'll have students in the honors and overlap with that PELP?
Yes, there are PELP students that are honor students, but PELP trumps honors. Not for me.
Okay.
From what I've been told. I didn't say that.
Is there just one block for PELP?
There's just one block, and it's only for the 24 students, so that's all they can take. So you have to start with that first before you can give them any other classes.
Thank you.
And that conflicts with major
Honors PELP trumps all. Yes. Please talk to Dr. Kinney, because that's all I was told to tell you. That there's just one time, there's not more than one section, there's not a section outside of a block, it's just that one, it's going to magically work with everything we offer. So, sorry. That's a good question though, that is a good question. So this is a sample schedule for a scholarship day. It's typically the same for freshmen, the same things go on. I wanted to talk about summer school. Summer school, summer welcome happens on May 29th. It's a half-day session, so it's only from about 8 to 1. The same type of sessions, finance, we do a commuter session, GOVS 411, financial aid, bursar. Then the only difference is that advising is from 11 to 1. And it's the same as if on a transfer day. In the morning, we have advising at that same time, so there's just nothing different. But just remember 11 and 1. And I'm going to send out the dates and times again. I'm going to email them out to everyone that attended today. But some people thought that summer school was going to be a little different. At summer school, it will be a mix of potential freshmen and transfer. So typically, you will only have transfer, only freshmen, but summer school is the one time that we've only had 9 applicants that are true traditional freshmen, so you won't have that many freshmen, probably more transfer that can actually attend. Same thing with the transfer schedule. There's 2 in one day. So on a typical transfer day, the morning session will be 8 to 1. So same thing. They have their 4 sessions. They come to advising from 11 to 1. The afternoon session starts check-in at 12. Advising is from 3 to 5, which is the same thing as last year. So it'll be in your room. For summer school, last year we went to the library and we had a herding of cats. We will never do that again. So you will be back in your regular rooms as normal for summer school days that we go to every time. So just no difference, but the schedules are all the same as far as that. That's all I have. Any other questions about any of the scheduling and what should happen on advising day? Yes.
I just have kind of a generic question, it's always in the pain for us. Walk-ins. Why do we keep having walk-ins? If these are college incoming students, you would think, that they're assigned a time and that they will show up for that time. How can they just walk in?
Yes.
If you don't mind explaining that to me.
What happens is we have, like, for instance, the first official freshman day is June 11th. We are already closed. We've had that many people sign up. We closed it at 200 students. We actually closed it was 210 students. I've had 10 or 15 people call and they want to come on June 11th. And I tell them, you cannot come on June 11th. There's 15 other days throughout the summer that you can come in. And because their best friend is signed up for June 11th, they're going to come on June 11th. And when they walk in, I've been instructed that if they're accepted, we are going to accommodate them because they showed up. Now last year we didn't have a whole lot of walk-ins. For freshman days, on transfer days, it's harder because some of them are not complete. They've not have all their transcripts been admitted or been evaluated. We may have their transcripts, but they're not evaluated. And so when it comes to about halfway through July, and I've been instructed that we're going to let transfers, even if they haven't been evaluated, attend the summer welcome. So we try to keep the walk-ins down. We tell them that they have to pick another date, but if they just show up and they've been accepted and we have their transcripts, I have to accommodate them.
Why do you have to, though?
Because I have a boss that tells me I have to. I mean, honestly, that's the only reason why. They feel like if they're here, if they've come down. We have a lot of students, to be honest, that come on a day that is not even summer welcome. And I had a student that drove hours and they just had to they came a day early. They were just the wrong date. And they had to, they got a hotel and they wore the same clothes and I gave them a toothbrush and a t-shirt to change into. So if they come, they drove like 5 hours and it was just completely the wrong day. So sometimes it is just they had the wrong date, but most of the time it's because it's someone they knew that was coming on that date and they really just wanted to attend with their best friend. And
I'm talking specifically about, we arrived there and we're told, okay, you have no students, you don't have anyone to do, and then so you kill 20 minutes or 30 minutes just in case, and you leave and you get back to the office and say, oh, well, somebody just walked in.
Yeah. Now, what happens typically when you get that, the student changed their major when they walked in the door. So most of the time, they came in and they were a nursing major when they applied, and then they got in and said, oh, I don't think I can do nursing after listening to a couple of sessions. So now I want to be a psychology major. And so during that's like an hour window. We don't have the time to go back and notify that you now have a person that you didn't have 2 days ago. So nobody gets hit harder, I guess, than undecided, because a lot of students come and say, oh no, I really don't want to be an engineering. I don't know what I want to do. So they typically end up with 30 to 40 to 50 students in a room that change their major. So most of the time, that's what happened in that case. So they truly weren't a walk-in, but they just weren't your major. And that's just the process that the university has, that we allow students to change their major the day of. Same thing if they change to math, then all of a sudden they have to take a placement test because now you're a math or science major. And that's the consequences, not a consequence, but that's the rules of math and science. So if you change to math and science, now you have to take a placement test today. So I can bring those things up to Dr. Denley and Dr. Beverly Goss.
That is something that's happening. It doesn't happen in geosciences very much.
Yeah.
But yeah, all of a sudden, HHP or something has got,
Right.
10 or 15 more.
Yes, because a lot of
than
students change to
expected.
HHP. Yeah, that's the problem. They switched their major that morning. We typically have, I think, about 35 students out of the 200 that change their major each welcome that day. Yes.
So I did want to ask about the testing schedule, especially on the math testing. When is that scheduled to occur?
Dr. Raven's actually going to talk about that right when I can shut my mouth. Because she's the expert. I think this is a wonderful time for Dr. Raven to talk about math testing.
I'm sorry, I was running my mouth and I didn't hear that question. What was
I was just wondering how the math testing is scheduled.
Okay, we're doing something a little bit different across your
Can you come up here because we're taping you? Because you're such an expert, I can't repeat.
You didn't tell me.
It's a surprise.
Oh, there it is. We're trying something different this year that a number of schools are doing, and I hope it works for us. Ashley's going to send a letter to people who have indicated to us that they plan to be STEM majors. And we're going to allow them to test at home. It's an online evaluation, and lots of schools do that, and so we're sending instructions for them to test at home. So as many students as we can get to test at home, then we won't have to take time to do that. But we will run a testing room, just like we always have. But hopefully we just won't have to handle so many students and we can get everything through faster and that sort of thing. That testing will be done in the afternoon, right at the beginning of the advising session. But we should, I know some of you in STEM majors have a lot of advisees. We should be able to get more of those advisees to you sooner as a result of this. Okay? I wanted to remind you of a few things about our general education core courses in mathematics. Okay? The choices are to follow. We have Math 1010, which is designed for students majoring in the arts and humanities. We think it's a very good general education core class for students majoring in the arts and humanities, and compared to other math classes, our success rates are quite good in Math 1010. All right? So if you're an advisor for a major for which that course is appropriate, we recommend that you take advantage of that course. We have Math 1530, which is an Introductions to Statistics. Okay? Statistics never hurt anybody. We think that's a great option. And there are a number of majors that actually require statistics, majors other than STEM majors, for instance. So if your major is one where you feel a student could particularly